a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
All right, folks, you have Patrick Highland today, filling in for Brandon Rhymes, and I appreciate you tuning into the show. I'm the host of the Sports Zone. I'm here with Alex Black Belt Lima, and appreciate you helping me out here today, Alex. We're going to have a fun show. We'll have Jason Kobal come on here, talk a little bit about the world of legalities. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Good stuff. Always a good show. Great to have you in studio. We've had you a couple of times as a guest. It's nice to see you in the hot seat now, getting to point the finger and ask all the questions.
There you go, man. I get to play Johnny Carson today since Brandon's on, doing some things. So it's always a lot of fun. Great time to be here at Salem Communications and get with the audience from 4 to 5 on this Wednesday. So
definitely,
we're loving today, and that's what it's all about. Jason, as always, welcome into the show. And how are you doing today, young man?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
Yes, sir. Jason, you're an attorney here in the Tampa Bay area. You represent a lot of people and a lot of corporations. What's the biggest changes you've seen in the marketplace when it comes to doing your job, sir?
Oh, man. Two big changes, really. COVID changed the way we practice law tremendously. My practice in particular, gosh, I was telling my associate, he's so lucky. Back in the day, pre-COVID, going back years, I would drive doing interviews in person in the people's houses, driving 2 hours either way to sign up a new client, grinding it. And everything was in person, mediations, hearings, everything in person. Now, pretty much everything except for trials, jury trials, are by Zoom. So you could now, instead of having to drive an hour and a half to mediation, and an hour and a half back, that's 3 hours wasted driving. Now you get to just do it by Zoom, and it's more efficient use of time. So it's really changed the practice, and it's given me a lot more time, which is a good thing. But then, I always prefer in person.
I'm the same way, Jason, in my line of work, helping people out with their insurances. We can do Zoom, we can do it over the phone, but I just think it's better when you shake hands, get to know each other. And, I just believe in this, and I know you practice this also. People really don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. And you're not going to get that. You can get a little bit of that over a Zoom, but in person is always the way to go. What's one of the bigger cases that you've worked on here recently?
Oh, man, I'm very proud. I was an attorney from D.C. reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do work for the MAGA movement, and I have the honor of being local counsel for a few defamation cases on behalf of Truth Social, Devin Nunes, General Flynn's family members. These were all individuals who are part of the MAGA movement that we feel were defamed. I filed suits in federal court against CNN, the Washington Post, because one of my biggest pet peeves that Brandon knows, because I talk about it probably every time I'm on here, is fake news. I feel that the media has been a major problem. And they are definitely part of the lawfare project that we see playing out before our very eyes every day, just right now, actually, with President Trump's trial in New York, which I believe is a complete sham. But the media plays their role, that's for sure.
Well, it's funny you brought that up. A lot of very intelligent men in the 40s and 50s said the way to take down America is you appeal to the masses, that aren't educated, and you silence the educated. And when you do that, guess what? Now you have control. And that's the worst thing that can happen in this great country of ours. I don't know why people have a problem. Make America great again. I mean, what's so bad about that? Let's get back to greatness. We've lost in science. We've lost in math. We've lost in English. These are things we have to get better and get back to where we were strong. And I just hope and pray that we get there. So I like your movement. I don't like these fake lawsuits. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, Jason. You like Biden, you don't. You like Trump, you don't. When silliness occurs like this trial, it's not good for anybody. When they picked on President Clinton for his nonsense, okay? Really? Don't we have more important things to worry about than that in this great country of ours? And here's the only thing I need to know, Jason. If he wasn't running for president, this would have never occurred. But since he is, they're nervous and they're worried, and they want to do something about it. I never thought I'd live in a country that would silence someone who wanted to run for office. That's the most asinine thing I've ever heard of in my whole life. And I'm an independent. Everybody that knows me and listens to me on the air, there's certain things I lean to the left on, and there's certain things I lean to the right on. But when it's all said and done, I think I'm pretty reasonable. I think I'm a pretty fair guy. And I just want everybody to do well and give everybody a fair shot. And you can't take from one person and give to another and tell me that works out, because it doesn't. It just creates not making America great again. So I'm glad you're doing what you're doing there, Jason, and, fighting for that. It's very important. So
I appreciate that, and you make great points. It's just that, when we attack a president, we should only, one of our presidents, anyone on either side, we should only do that if it's extreme circumstances, because it makes the whole country look bad. I mean, internationally, good Lord. I'm sure we've fallen back a little bit. We look like kind of goofy here with what we've been up to lately. But we'll see. My only saving grace, honestly, if you look at the polls, even with independents, his lead actually grew. And there's a long way to go. Who knows what will happen? Who knows if I don't even be running? But I'm glad that it's backfiring, because it really, if karma's real, instant karma, it should work, because it's a travesty what's going on. And there's no way it's not election interference. Obviously, he could be out campaigning now, but he can't. He's stuck in this crazy trial.
Well, yeah, and if they come up with another flu in August, if we don't go, wait a second now, okay, we remember this game plan from before, using a little sports analogy. You ran and played quarterback, so did I, up in minor league football up in New York, and then I tried out in Canada, and it's just funny. You have to have a game plan, and if that's the game plan, I hope us as Americans realize, this looks a little familiar, a little repeat. I'm not buying this time, and really say something. Like you said, when I call him Slick Willie, I have fun. I call him Trumpy Bear because of his the commercial with all the truckers with the bear. It cracked me up. I thought it was an SNL skit, Jason, when it first came out. But you just said something that was unbelievable, because the guy I do the show with, Scott Levinson, who ran for District 1 here in Tampa, he said, Patrick, don't bet your last dollar on Trump running for president come November. I said, oh, come on, man. It's Trump and Biden. He said, okay. And his son disagrees with him, too, and all his friends and me, too. But you know what? You might be right, Jason, and he might be right. So we're going to find out. But you also said something very excellent, and that was with President Clinton. We were a laughing stock when they were picking on him with Monica Lewinsky. All the countries are going, what are you guys doing? And now with Joe Biden, they're going, what are you doing with him as the leader of your country? It's just not good. You're 100% right. And I don't think the guy's a terrible guy. He's just not fit for office. And truthfully, Trump at his age, it's questionable, Jason. I want a 50-year-old guy that can relate to a 25-year-old and an 85-year-old. That's what you need. And I wish they would take a governor every time, because a governor, guess what? He's at least ran one state. Let's see if he can do 50 or 57 per Barack Obama. But anyway, I had to throw that in there, Jason. I couldn't help myself. But and I don't think he was a terrible guy either. I mean, I think we come too harsh. We get tribalism to the point of ridiculous. And when you are practicing your law, obviously you have to protect your client, but you have to be objective to the other side, or you're going to look foolish. When it comes to personal injury law, discuss that a little bit with the audience, please.
Oh, sure. Actually, it goes back to your first question you asked about changes in Florida. There's been drastic changes, and they were so quick, and there wasn't a whole lot of media coverage about it. So a lot of people don't know that the law has changed tremendously for car accidents in a lot of different ways. So you definitely want an attorney that is on the ball, your attorney to be communicating with you, not just the staff, but the attorney. You should know, this is a key one, you should know what the policy limits are. And anytime there's an accident, there's PIP, personal injury protection. Everybody has to have that by law. That covers the first 10,000. And then after that, it's the at-fault bodily injury. And it's key to know what that is, because sometimes it's zero. It could be legally zero. Sometimes it's $1 million. It's very important to know what that is, because what you don't want to do is have a situation where, say, it's 10, and your attorney is not paying attention, and you're treating, and now your bills are $30,000, and the policy is only 10. And guess what happens at the end? The attorneys make money, the doctors make money, and the injured party makes nothing. So we take pride in not doing that at Kobal Law, but if that's not happening with the attorney you're with, then you need to get a different one.
No, you're right, but here's the other thing, right? And tell me, you know the law 10 times better than I ever will, Jason, but my understanding is, suppose someone hits me and they only have a $10,000 policy or $20,000, whatever the case may be, and it was a decent accident. Well, two things are going to happen. I need to get you involved to call, I'm not going to name any names because that's not right, an insurance company and go, look, the policy limits are $20,000, but my guy really has $50,000 to $75,000 worth of injuries. Do you want to settle this out, or do you want us to go to court and try to get you for $250,000? Isn't that kind of how it works in today's world? Because people really can't afford $100,000, $300,000 policies anymore, Jason.
Exactly, and you always want to make sure, if possible, you get UM, because what UM is if you get hurt, and in that situation you said, say it's a 10-20, the injuries are severe, well then if that's not enough, once that is tendered, then your UM will kick in, uninsured or underinsured motorists. But it definitely is wise to get that, and you're right, it's tough. Not everybody has the ability to get the high policies, but it's very important to know what you're dealing with. And what you described is, if you get a situation where it's 10-20, and it can't just be a phone call. Your attorney, they'll have to send enough evidence, that's the medical records, the accident report, and everything else, to show the other side that this case is worth much more than their policy. And then they do the demand. If they don't tender within the deadline, which is usually 30 days, then it sets up for bad faith where there's no limit. And that's what you described. And those are the best. And they happen way more than you would think. And that's, I love that part of the law, because you can't get bad faith unless first you produce evidence to the other side that shows them they should be tendering, and you give them ample time to do so. And if they don't, then they get tagged with it. So I think it's justified.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, I know some other laws have changed as far as what the attorney percentage can be in the last 10 to 12 years. Am I correct in that mindset, memory bank? Go ahead, Jason, please.
It's fairly standard. It has changed in different fields, but for car accidents, it's standard. Pre-suit, we charge usually a third.
Okay.
If it's a situation where I see it's really big injuries and the policies, sometimes I'll charge people less. I definitely
Good for
like
you.
it.
Good for you, Jason. Yeah. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that's key. Brandon does that with real estate. Hey, we're trying to make a deal here. If I have to cut a little bit on my end, we'll do it. You'll cut a little bit on your end to make sure the doctor's bills and the guy has money for his future endeavors. I like that, Jason. That shows me something about you and your, class and the way you feel for your fellow man, because we're all trying to make a living. And people don't realize $100,000 lawsuit. Well, the attorney got $33,000. Do you know how much effort and work he had to do to get that $33,000? Oh, you don't. He had to get private investigators. He had to get special people, doctors, specialists in the field of that injury. And, his time and money and his education has to come into play. So it's funny how we can debate about things to the point of nauseum, and just let everybody, make a living and do the right thing for the right reasons. Hey, let the audience know you're just not an attorney. You're also a regular guy who likes to play pickleball, because a lot of people, that's the new craze, man, pickleball. They're cutting tennis courts in half and making them pickleball courts. So that tells you something right there. Go ahead.
I was just in a tournament this past weekend, and I was shocked. They had a section. Usually, they'll have any age. They'll have 50 plus. They had just kids in middle school and high school, and it was packed. I'm like, wow. So younger kids are even are playing this sport now. They say allegedly there's over 100 million people playing in the United States. So you're going to only see this get bigger as time goes by, and I predict in the future you're going to see it as a high school sport, and who knows beyond that. But yeah, this is just the beginning, and I'm honored to be a part of it. It's funny. I played football too back in the day up in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it was good. Big 33 game with Ohio. We had some good football players, but I went to Shippensburg as I wanted to be a wide receiver, and ended up quitting after I was redshirted. But I love football, so I appreciate that you and Brandon were quarterbacks.
That's cool. Well, Jason, here's the cool thing about pickleball, and I'm trying to get into it because I've been a tennis player all my life. Okay, it's ping pong on a tennis court is what I call it. The only thing about the sport is the dinking. I know there's some skill there, and we can talk about that after this quick timeout here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And when we come back, you and I'll finish our discussion and also talk about a few cool properties Brandon has on the marketplace. So hang in there with us, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
www.consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. It's your boy, Alex Black Belt Lima. We're going to get back to talking with Jason Kobal here in just a second. But before we do, we'd like to showcase one of the properties available to you from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams, Brandon and Lindsay's, all-star real estate team. Let's talk about 105 Lake Tarpon Drive, unit number 26. Beautiful property in Palm Harbor. It's a 55 and up community at the Lake Tarpon Mobile Home Village, but it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Just under 750 square feet. It's a possible tear down. The property, like the actual space is what you're really looking at here, guys, because it's on this awesome 55 and up community. It's a golf cart community. They got really low HOA fees, $101 per month. That's ridiculous. That's so awesome. They got a community pool clubhouse. What is that? That bocce ball? I never really played that, but that's awesome. They got shuffleboard, golf, and they got a book club. You got to read your books, guys. Get with that book club. So that's 105 Lake Tarpon Drive, unit number 26 in Palm Harbor, Florida. And that's available to you from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. And you can check out all the properties available to you from PlatinumCoastalElite.com. That's where you want to go if you're looking for a home. PlatinumCoastalElite.com. We also, real quick, would like to promote the happy hour, the CQBS happy hour going on at Hours Creole Smokehouse in Tarpon Springs. That's 310 East Tarpon Avenue in Tarpon Springs. Hours Creole Smokehouse. You got Doug Clark as the chef. I'm going to be there hosting this week because Brandon's not going to be there. It's on Thursday at 6 p.m., Hours Creole Smokehouse. And like I said, there may or may not be a secret fight club meeting after or a dance contest since I'm going to be there. So check it out, guys. And don't forget, you can always hit us up at consumerqb.com. I'm going to kick it back over to Patrick, and he's going to get with Jason.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate that, Alex. That was funny, man. Good attitude. That's what it's all about, man. We're just trying to have fun here, educate people. Yeah, a lot of love, man. We don't need any more hate. That's for doggone sure in this crazy world of ours. Jason has to deal with enough hate when he's up against the attorney on the other side of the aisle, right, Jason?
Always.
Yeah, it's true. You know what, though? Most of you guys do respect each other. You have a job to do. I have a job to do. You're fighting for the client. Now, that's a great question to ask you. Do you ever represent the insurance company, or are you strictly for the personal injury person? Like, suppose... Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason.
Yeah, I actually worked for representing insurance companies right out of law school, and I hated it, to be honest with you. I love representing individuals, and at this point, I only represent individuals. For the most part, I did accept that one case of local counsel representing Truth Social, but mostly individuals for the injury cases.
So I know a little bit about this when it comes to hurricanes and claims adjusting. You know, you can't be a public adjuster and a claims adjuster, but in the legal field, you could also represent a company and also represent me. Is that correct?
You could, but then, you got to watch out, because once you do that, you're representing both sides. Any conflict, you might get another case that, you want to help the person, and then you find out, oh, I represent that insurance company. You have to give it to somebody else, because if there's a conflict, you can't represent.
Good point. Well, it's tough. What happens is, if I get hit by somebody and I crack up $100,000 and they only have a $20,000 policy, you're going to try to get that $100,000 for me, and then the guy on the other side of the aisle is representing the insurance company and the person that hit me, and then we're going at it, and that's always a adversarial side of things, but that's just part of the system the way it is right now. I wish we could come to a realistic way of doing it. How often do you go to court out of 10 cases? Let me ask you that. Jason.
I would say 90% settle outside of court.
Good. And that's really what should happen, in my opinion, because it's traumatic enough. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you hit the person by accident, or you both kind of could have avoided it, one was speeding, one thought they could make it, and the other thought, oh, he ain't coming, and then boom, it happens. These things happen, especially as we get more people here in the Tampa Bay area. It's just a matter of let's do the right thing and the fair thing and not make it any more traumatic than it needs to be. And that's good that you do settle out. Go ahead.
Trial, and it is a gamble for both sides. And there's a lot of money, a lot of cost to go to trial, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose, and that losing side is going to sting. So it's always best if you could work it out, and that's probably why 90% of them do.
Well, and I would think more times than not, if someone were to hit me and cause me to have a knee, that's probably a $50,000 case, just using an example if I had to have surgery on my knee. And can we settle out for that? Yeah, you would hope so, but then the other side is going to say, well, his policy limit's $20,000. We're willing to give you $20,000. Well, that's not right either. So it's just tough. It's just a very hard circle right now to get it right and fair for all parties, Jason. So yeah. I commend what you do and respect what you do, and it's not easy. So
the toughest ones is when you get a case that someone's really hurt, and you know that it was obviously the other side's fault, and then they don't have any BI. And the person doesn't have UM, and then unless they have assets, which usually people who don't have a good insurance don't have a whole lot of assets to sue them personally. So to have to explain to somebody in that situation, I'm sorry, I realize this wasn't your fault, and you're extremely hurt, but I can't help you. That's tough.
Yes, it is. It really is. And I learned one thing from talking to guys like you, Jason. If you're on the wrong side of that, it's better to call your insurance company and say, please settle, be done with it. Don't play games, and even put it in writing and send it to them, because then they get off their backsides and do something. If you don't, they run it out, and then a year and a half later, you might be in the courtroom or you're doing depositions, which is no fun for anybody. So,
Jason, how do people get a hold of you? We got just about 30 or so seconds left. I want to make sure people can get in contact with you, buddy.
www.tampaworkcomplaw.com or koballaw.net, or call the show.
Excellent. No, man, Jason, appreciate you coming on today. It's always a pleasure to talk to an attorney and a guy who does care about people. That's who Brandon affiliates himself with, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be involved with people like Brandon and Alex and yourself, because all we're trying to do is do the right thing for people and make life better and just get through this mess of life and navigate through the waters of it and enjoy each other and help each other out. So thank you, Jason, for coming on. Greatly appreciated. And I'm glad that we got you on. We're going to take another time out here, and when we come back, we'll have
it's going to be me and you, man. Me and you.
Yeah. Excellent. Alex and I are going to have some fun talking about martial arts and about the world and the world we live in. Hang in there with us. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
See you guys soon. www.consumerqb.com.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in to us. We greatly appreciate the Consumer Quarterback Show. My name is Patrick Highland. I'm filling in for Brandon Rhymes. Johnny Carson, as I affectionately call him, is taking a break, and I'll play Jay Leno today. And I have my man, Alex Lima, the black belt expert, in studio with me, and also very dear old friend, Fred Muth, who does the pool cages, baby, and screens and patios and all that on the line. Fred, good afternoon to you. How you doing today, sir?
I'm great, Patrick. It's very good to hear you and talk to you. We were talking at the break. When I first met you, there was a tropical storm went through 2 to 3 weeks prior to. You said, "Can you get me on the list?" I said, "Sure thing, Patrick." Guess what? You're still on the list.
Exactly. Come on, man. What's up with that? Oh, it's just crazy. Your business is something else. I mean, hey, people are moving from the Northeast here to Tampa Bay, and they have the bread, and then they put the money on the table to get the screen that they want. And how long have you been doing that for now, Fred?
I started in 1992, April 2nd, 1992. So I'm, 32 years in this business. I like it. I enjoy it. It's not something that I ever thought I would be involved with. I accidentally got involved with it back then. Worked with another company. They were good guys, and our friendly competitor was Tampa Screens. And we just went wild with the other company, and then the guys that owned that company, they retired in 2010. And I talked to Richard, he's the owner of Tampa Screens, and he says, "You coming over?" I go, "Yeah." I says, "Yeah, I'm ready to write some business." And I'm writing business the following day.
That's amazing. Yeah, please let the audience know that, seriously, if they're in need of what you have to offer, how they can get in contact with you, website, name of the company, and everything, Fred.
Right. Tampa Screens and Aluminum has their, obviously they have a website, taluminum@tampascreens.com. But, we're still sort of old school. Make a phone call, 813-960 7064, and you'll hear back from either myself or two or three of the other salespeople. And, it's very important to cover the leads as soon as they come in. We usually get to the leads on a phone call within a day or two max, and then we're out there typically on site within a week or so to get things measured and priced out, which is about how it works out in this business for most screen contractors. In our business, unfortunately, there's never enough good installation crews. I started in '92 in this business, and I recall making a statement back then that there was probably 1,500 excellent installation crews on the west coast of Florida in 1992. And I can tell you there's probably still 1,500 excellent installation crews. It's a very unique type of construction. It's not the precision has to be there. In other words, a lot of these guys, they start out as framers, and nothing wrong with framers, but the tolerances are not the same in the screen business. And then some of the framers move into the screen business, and they realize how much more intricate the screen enclosures can be compared to what they were doing. So it's hard to find very, very high qualified installation crews. We've got pretty much the same crews. I started with Tampa Screens in 2010. We got pretty much the same crews. They're still with the company, and that says a lot for the company.
No, it really does. I mean, we talked a little bit about the different screens now. It's not just your basic, square fit for a pool anymore. It's really become elaborate and giving you different views depending on, where you live and where your home is located. You want to get a nice view of the lake you live on, nice view of, the woods. You just want it to be pristine, and you guys do a great job in that, Fred. So
yes, we do. Yeah, I would say 5-6 years ago, I would made the statement the up and coming, because it was out there, but it was starting to move faster, is I either call it open view or panoramic view. Panoramic would be let's say it's a rectangle cage. Pano view would be all sides, whereas open view would be the rear. And typically, you can eliminate the chair rails on the sides to give more of an open view and not drive the cost over the edge, so to speak. But we're taking a lot of calls to replace these existing cages that are 20 to 30 years old, going back with a new open view or panoramic view product. And I make the comment about a job I did down here in Riverview on the Alafaya River several years back. It was 75 feet wide. He had 10 panels on the backside, and we took it away and put a new one up, and he's got 3 big open panels on the backside, 3 25-footers. And he gets a very, very good view of the river. The majority of these open view, pano view enclosures are installed on golf courses, rivers, lakes, because the backdrop of the home, obviously the sale of the home was promoted by the view and the bird's eye view, as well as the rear view of the lot and the curb appeal. So if you paid extra money for this beautiful lot on the river or lake, you would certainly want to pay a few more bucks and get the open view for your pool cage.
No, perfect point. I was just going to say curb appeal. It's a big thing in the marketplace right now. Brandon's the expert in that, and obviously you're the expert in your line of work. Now, this brings up a question I'd like to ask you. Somebody has a pool cage that's 20 years old, but it's in pretty decent shape, needs some screens, needs to be bolted down better. Is that something you all get involved in and do?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We're very much geared for new builds. However, if it's a cage that needs to be rehabbed, we can work that as well. In some cases, we're not as quick to get on them jobs as some of the typical rescreen contractors. Some of the rescreen guys who are very good, they may or may not carry the same license that we do. So we have a lot more new builds that require permits and this and that and the other. So that's pretty much our priority. Whereas if you're doing a rework on a cage, some of the rescreen companies, they can get right on it, and they can, sort of blow me out of the water on the timing in a lot of cases. So, and I like people to know that going into it. And I tell them that the calls come through. I make that point when I talk to the customer. But again, it's something that we do.
Now, do you provide financing for this type of work, Fred?
We are now working with a finance company. I have not worked with a finance company with Tampa Screens yet, but we have a company on board, and it's just a matter of getting the correct paperwork. Some of our guys need a little training on it, me inclusive. Like I said, I've sold financing in the past with the other company, and I'm sure things have changed. So I need myself and some of the other salespeople, we need a little training on the financing before we actually go out and promote it.
No, because, I mean, what are we looking at? I mean, and I know costs are going to vary, Fred. You must have a median or an average cost for a brand new screen for, let's say, a 50-foot square, 50-foot pole. Let's go with that.
Yeah, well, something like that can, depending on the height of the
Yes.
the house. In other words, if it's a single story versus two story, let's say your standard cookie cutter.
Yes.
50 by 30 cage, mansard screen roof, 10-foot high walls. You're probably anywhere from $12,000 to $28,000. People say, "Wow, what's the difference?" Well, there's a lot of things that come into play, and typically the rear of the house tells the aluminum contractor what they can or cannot do based on the structure. So I like to give that range out there because I don't want to deceive people and think if I say 12 to 1,000, they call in and I go out and measure it and it's a $22,000 job. I don't want to feel like I was deceptive. So the range can vary based on that.
No, that's a great point, Fred. We just had Jason Kobal on the show, and he's a great attorney, but he's a fair guy, and he has some ethics and morals. I joked around with being an ambulance chaser, but the thing is, every profession has its good. You're in sales, I'm in sales. You find out if people care. If they care, then you have a good person working out for you, and you're up front. Like if I were to say, okay, Fred, I need to have my house really rescreened and rebolted and this, that. Okay, Patrick, but it might not be till, we'll say we're in June for practical timing purposes. It might not be till August or September. Are you okay with that? That's the type of thing you would do, and I respect you for it. Where some people say, oh, yeah, we'll get right on it. Ooh, we're waiting on supplies. We're waiting on crews as it goes to the 90th day. You don't operate that way because it's not honorable and respectful. So
No, I don't. I won't.
I appreciate it. What's the phone number to reach your organization again, Fred?
813-960-7064.
Perfect. No, you're like me. We're more old school. I want to pick up the phone. I want to see the person face to face, and let's see if we can work out, a deal that helps us both out. Increase the value of my house, give me a better view, make sure, God forbid, a hurricane comes through. It's, if it's not bolted down, you could have some more problems you really don't want to have. So
That's right. A lot of people they fail to realize that the weak spot on these cages is the attachment. And the cage can be in beautiful shape, screens are nice, aluminum is in good shape, but you got failure at the base and failure at the connection point at the home, the cage goes away.
absolutely, Fred, and that's so important. We're going to take a quick time out here. When we come back, you and I will finish up, and I'm sure Alex has some questions for you, and we can let the audience know how you can be of help, and we'll go from there. Hang in there with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.
All right, folks. Welcome back to the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm hosting for Brandon, Patrick Highland, here in studio with my man, Alex Black Belt Lima. And Fred Muth is on the line talking about pool cages and just, patio cages in general and how he helps out the public and makes it happen. And we're going to get to Fred in just a minute, but we got some awesome properties that Brandon has going on right now. And Alex is going to explain to you what a great property for you to get is. Or if you're looking to sell your property, please get in touch with Brandon. Go ahead, Alex, please.
Yeah, thanks, my man. Appreciate it. We'd like to highlight right now. Let's go ahead and showcase 5642 Egrets Place in Newport Richey, Florida. This is one of Brandon's favorite properties. You hear him mention it all the time. It is absolutely beautiful. 5642 Egrets Place in Newport Richey, Florida. It's a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath, just under 3,000 square feet. It's sitting on about a quarter acre. It's got a main entrance balcony, heated pool with a waterfall, elevator access from the garage. It's got 2 sets of sliders to the front balcony. laundry room, 2 additional guest bedrooms. I mean, this thing is gorgeous. You see that bathroom, how it's laid out? Look at that pool right there with the waterfall. I would definitely be spending all summer there in the back. And you get a membership to the private quarter-mile Gulf Front Beach Club in this community here. The amenities in the community, you got the waterfront clubhouse, heated pool, lighted tennis courts. They got everything going on. I'm not sure what the pickleball situation looks like, Patrick, but at least you can play some legit pool out there. So one more time, ladies and gentlemen, 5642 Egrets Place in Newport Richey, Florida. And you can see all the properties available to you from the Platinum MVP team at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. That's PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Oh, that's awesome. That is a beautiful property. Brandon does get some great locations, man, and he's got some things going up in Gainesville right now for the people that you have kids going to the University of Florida. You attended University of Florida and want to get a condo up there right off Archer Road, a mile from the stadium, Ben Hill. I'll tell you, it's a great deal. So, and then you can rent it out also, Brandon told me. So just great opportunities going on there. Well, Fred, back to you, my friend. We were talking about the cages and how you have to be safe and, realize what you're getting involved in there to help people out. So please express to the people exactly what you do and how you do it, my friend.
Okay, so homeowners do get nervous this time of the year with the upcoming storms, obviously, and me, I'm a homeowner, I'm nervous too. I don't like these storms. Being in the business, I still don't like these storms. They're extremely unpredictable. I always like to mention to check all of the connection points on your enclosure, and if them things are in good shape, you're okay. If they're not, even though the average homeowner can go to Home Depot, buy some TAPCons, and reconnect. It's very important. That way, when the winds hit whatever speeds they hit, the cage will hopefully stay there. Now, the cages today with the engineering are built extremely strong. Nothing less than the 145-mile-an-hour wind load that I know of. The closer you get to the beach and the water, that wind load goes up. And comically, we make a statement, the house roof will go before the cage. We don't like to say that, but in reality, that's typically what happens in today's world when these storms hit. If the house roof goes, obviously the cage goes with it. But it's very important to make sure that you are secure, your cage is secure, your screen room is secure. It's like anything that can be loose on the outside when the winds hit. If it's a 20, 30-year-old cage, it may be time to consider a replacement. Not that I'm trying to always sell replacements, but I know in some cases if it's 20 or 30 years old, it may not be worth putting a lot of extra money into it. Like, for example, 20, 30 years ago, they used a 5-inch structural gutter. In today's world, you have a 7-inch gutter. People will ask me what the price is to change out the 5-inch gutter to a 7, total rescreen, and change all the fasteners. And I basically tell them, now we're into the price of a whole new cage, with upgraded engineering. And it's not a deceptive statement. They'll talk to 2 or 3 other screen companies will tell them the same thing. And it's like if your car is extremely old, are you going to put an exhaust system, brakes, tires, shocks, get transmission work. By the time you put all that money into the vehicle, it's just not worth it in some cases.
No, that's a great point, Fred. There was a cool commercial, the old Midas commercial, back when you and I were kids. You're going to pay me now or you're going to pay me later? And it's the same concept. So there you go.
It's the same concept. Absolutely, yeah. And the cages, I try to find fault with the product in today's world. I guess that's my nature, to look at something engineering wise and try to find fault with it and find out what can be wrong with the current builds. Because a lot of times the input from the contractors eventually makes its way back to the engineering people, and changes are made. But in all honesty, it's very hard to find fault with the cages in today's world. They are built extremely strong. There's always the question of, what screen fabric do I use? And I hear that quite often. I like to tell people that the aluminum business typically is commission-driven. And a lot of times if the salesman can oversell product that's not necessary, they're going to make more money. And it's not necessarily in favor of having a better product in the end. And I use, for example, they call the no-seam screen. It's very good fabric. It's much tighter weave. It's considered no-seam resistant, not no-seam proof. It is more expensive. And And the downside to it is if you have a swimming pool, it's going to, since it cuts back sunlight, it's going to the pool water is going to become much colder. And what I don't like about it personally is the sidewalls, for example, they will hold dirt. And how do I know? I have it at home. And when that cage gets dirty, it's very hard to clean the sidewall. So these are things that I like to bring out. And I like to tell people the standard fabric 1814's been around forever. As far as I know, it's in every window screen nationwide, so it is considered insect-proof. So it's a very good choice to go with the standard product. And there's different bells and whistles in our business that are oversold for the wrong reasons in some cases.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there a resale value when you do maybe get the upper grade of things, or is that really just fluff, Fred?
That is fluff on a resale. Okay. As far as if the house went up for sale and an appraiser came in and looked at the cage, there would probably be zero additional dollars for a cage with upgraded fabric versus standard fabric, because most people can't tell the difference until they get up, put their nose to it, and see it, basically. And we have a very good appraiser who's part of our group. I know him very well, and I think he would probably agree with that statement.
Well, see, then you don't do that. You have to put value. If it looks better, if it will withstand a hurricane better, that's different, just like with windows and doors. Sometimes you might pay on a $15,000 window job $20,000, but did you get window proof? Did you get a warranty? That's a good thing to ask you. Do you have warranty with these cages, Fred?
Yes, we do. Yes, everything that we do is 1 year warranty, materials and workmanship. However, a lot of the product, for example, the insulated composite roof panels that are used on the patio screen rooms, and in some cases incorporated in with a pool cage, they typically carry a 10-year manufacturing material warranty, which is good. Now, I can tell most people that in 10 years' time, you're never going to have a problem with that panel roof. How do I know? Because I've got the roof on the side of the home, and I have one on the rear. And the one on the side was built in 1996, and it's flawless. And the one on the rear was built in 2009, and it's flawless. So it's an excellent product. So a lot of the products do carry their own manufacturer warranty, but typically with Tampa Screens, it's materials and labor, materials and workmanship for 1 year.
Very good, Fred. No, I know you do the right things for the right reasons, and that's what it's all about. And it is nice to be able to put up a new screen. It does add curb value to the home. Now, if you put a new screen up, let's suppose it's a $15,000 job, I would think a new screen and would, in some respects, add value to the home, especially if you get the panoramic view of being on a golf course or the ocean or the river, wherever, the Gulf. Does that make sense, Fred? I don't want to oversell you, so please correct me.
No, it's 100% correct. On an appraisal, when the appraiser comes to the property, there is a consideration in there in the report for the value of a cage and the value of a pool. So the house next door, which is identical, and that does not have the cage of the pool. Obviously, the values are going to be different. With the cage and the pool, the parcel with the cage and the pool is going to be appraised higher than the one without it.
Oh, very good, Fred. Well, we got a couple minutes left on this Wednesday show, and please let the audience know again, for the website people and for guys like you and me, the phone number to get in touch with you, Fred, please.
T Aluminum at tampascreens.com, 813-960-7064.
Fantastic, Fred. Any passing thoughts to pass on to the audience for consumer reasons to help them out when they're making this decision to get a new cage, please?
I preach to continue to ask many, many questions as a consumer. Don't feel like you are going to over-ask the questions to the person selling you the product. In my business, I appreciate the questions more than people can imagine. I feel better when a customer asks me a lot of questions, even if they're redundant. That way I know if I miss something, we're going to try to eliminate the surprises on the back end. The worst thing in construction is when there's a surprise on the back end.
It's so true, man. When I sell insurance, I want the people to ask me questions. I want them to know up front what they're getting, because down the road, then you won't have those questions. And if you do, they know that you've taken time with them and you care, and you're going to do the right things for the right reasons. So you and I feel the same way and do things for the right way. I just want to thank you for coming on the air. I want to thank everybody for listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show on this Wednesday, and we appreciate you. And please tune in tomorrow from 4 to 5. We greatly appreciate our audience and all our contributors to the show. It's been a pleasure knowing Brandon for a lot of years, and knowing you too, Fred, because that's what it's all about. It's a community thing and doing the right things for the right reasons. So thank you again, Fred. Look to talking with you real soon. Jason, any final thoughts for today, Wednesday?
No. Make sure you let people know how to catch you on the Sports Zone as well.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. 11 to 12, folks, on Sunday. We'll be talking sports, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and Mr. Lima will be calling in, talking about his basketball and hockey teams. Too bad our Lightning aren't in it. Have a great night, folks.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback.